Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shem Rakakadash. And I want to say Shalom to our Benakwath out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's titled Faith, Trust, and the Restructuring of Your Thoughts. All right? Faith, trust, and the restructuring of your thoughts. And just some things I've been going through lately. That's brought this up, and I've mentioned it a lot, and it's a constant examination, a self-examination, and got a couple things here, definitions and whatnot, right? So I had the thought of when I was making this lesson, faith, trust, and restructuring of our thoughts. Being in this truth, one of the things you have to do is actually, you know what? A complete restructuring. All right, I changed it. So one of the things you have to do, all right, and I have it in parentheses here, being born in Babylon. So being born in Babylon, or wherever you're at, all right, being born into this world, all right, wherever you happen to be, whether it's Babylon, all right, so-called America, whether it's in England, all right, jolly old England, where it happens to be, Barbados or Trinidad, all right, or Brazil, all right, or Africa or China, wherever you happen to be born, all right, as an Israelite, you're going to pick up unhealthy mindsets or mind states, mindset. What's the word I'm thinking of here? You're gonna pick up bad habits. All right, mindset, I guess, would be the word. Mindset. Yeah, for some reason that didn't sound like a real word. But you pick up unhealthy mindsets from living in society, regardless of where you happen to be. Okay, the thought patterns, and from everything. If someone does you wrong, you want to do them back with revenge. All right, you did something and you're all proud, thinking that, oh, I did it, instead of giving praise to the Lord. Something happens and then you think, oh, well, you jump to the worst, and you don't think that how the Lord's gonna help you. And funny enough, the car in front of me, his license plate is praise. All right, Pray, and then a 5. Call all Yahweh Shem Shai. But we got to completely restructure our mind from coming up in these societies. Okay, we got to completely restructure our mind. And a restructure, I looked up restructure. Right, I looked it up right before I put this lesson, not put it together, but started it up. Slakia. And we're gonna get a couple of sources. All right, the Google one. All right, from Oxford. Restructure. All right, to organize differently. All right, it says a plan to strengthen and restructure the department. It says finance to. It's not really about finance, but let's see. Let's go to the Oxford or Cambridge. They usually have some good stuff. All right, restructure. It says to organize a company, business, or system in a new way to make it operate more effectively. Okay, so we're restructuring our mind. So we're organizing the way our thoughts are in order, all right, to make it operate more efficiently, because the ways of thinking that we have are not efficient. They're not efficient, and they're non-spiritual ways of thinking. And unfortunately, a lot of that that's a lot of that mind junk, all right, tends to stay around. All right, even once you're in the truth. And I don't mean it stays around like that. I mean, just because you're in the truth doesn't mean, oh, it just goes away. That's something that you have to learn to get over. You have to restructure, all right, reorganize, all right, and completely rebrand your brain, all right, put off that old man and put on the new. And unfortunately, because of this flesh, you're going to have some of those tendencies, all right. You're going to have some of those tendencies, and those are the things we say we're constantly going off. It goes back to that the way we were raised, and it doesn't mean, oh, that was the way I was raised, I was eating pork. No, it's just thought patterns, man. Thought patterns. We should be able to, something should happen to us, and the first thing that we should do is think about the Lord. But unfortunately, a lot of us, we think something happens to us and we think, oh my gosh, my flesh, oh, this or that, and then we say, oh, I gotta pray. Okay, and that's a good thing to have. All right, that should be your thought, is that, oh, I need to pray. But wouldn't it be great if our go-to was just to pray initially? We didn't even freak out. We said, you know what? I'm not going to even freak out. How Bash Meow Shai has got this. And sometimes, sometimes we have that. But sometimes, unfortunately, with our mindset, first thing we go to, it just is just instantly freaking out. It's just, oh, here, let me panic. All right, and that's not the mindset that we should be in. All right, that's not the mindset we should be in. So yeah, man. Um, we got to restructure our minds. We got to rebrand our brains. All right. We got to get to a position to where all that brain junk, all right, isn't, just hanging around. All right. And we can think in a more effective way. All right. We can operate and think in a more effective way. Going back, faith, trust, and the restructuring of your thoughts. In order to have faith and trust, you have to restructure your thoughts. Okay. You have to have a complete restructuring. All right, a complete restructuring. So, what words else do we have here? Restructure. It says that's dealing with business. Or it always everything restructure, whatever it goes back to, whether it's a company or this or that. It always goes back to making sure that thing is operating more effectively. So let's see what else we have here. Restructure. Um, let's go to Britannica and see what it has to say. Any moment now. This whole area over here can be a little weird with service. So it says to change the basic organization or structure of something. Restructuring. Okay. What else? Vocabulary.com. When you restructure something, you organize it in a different way so it'll work better. Okay, so you're redoing your brain so it works better. It's in a better it's a better state. Okay, because the state of our brain is not great. Okay, it's not great being in this world. Some of us have effeminate like thought patterns. All right, for men that have grown up with single parent households with a woman, right? Or it can even be bad if you were raised by only your father and not a mother, because if you had to choose one, it's better to be only raised by a father without a mother, but ideally it's not good to have either or. All right, and sometimes if you're raised only by a father, you're going to lack levels of empathy. Okay, because women are more empathetic and soft with things, and men are not supposed to be being soft, but we should understand when we should tone it down. And if your father was overly present, all right, to the point, and your mom was kind of distant, or she wasn't there at all, you can have lack of empathetic skills, completely unwilling to even try to experience emotion, and just lean into that hard ass mindset, into where you don't even try to think about anything at all, or think about things, not on not emotional reasoning has its place, but logical reasoning is the king. All right, but you need to be able to battle emotion with logic and logic with emotion, to where too much of anything is a bad thing. All right, except when it comes to this truth. All right, that's the one exception. All right, because you can never praise the Lord too much, right? But if you're too logical, a lot of people are going to think you're an asshole. All right, you have to have that emotion to be able to understand. Okay, look, this person, if they need to be reasoned with and calmed down and spoken to on an emotional level. All right, and with logic mixed in, and not just pure logic, because they're going to think you're an asshole, and they're going to completely not even, they're just going to disregard everything that you have to say. Right. Um, so yeah, man. So you need a complete restructuring and training of the mind. All right, what is training? Let's go and define that. Well, I can have Siri do it. So to develop or prove through practice. Okay, which practice is rehearsing something. Okay, so I'm gonna hop out of this car actually real quick. And then I'm gonna continue this lesson. I just got to try to grab a belt or something, because I'm gonna be doing a little bit of a walk, and these pants are a little baggy. So I'll be back with you in just 1 minute, Lord willing. All right. So just one moment. All right. So we should be good to go, and we should be back. So had to run the old ghetto classic. I didn't have no belt, so I just had to, you know, MacGyver or something. I don't want to be, keep pulling up these pants. I've lost weight, so good thing, but the pants don't fit quite right. So, yeah, getting back into it, I'm going to go ahead and grab the first scripture of the lesson, which is Hebrews 11 and 1 through 2. Because again, the title of this lesson is Faith, Trust, and the Restructuring of Your Thoughts. So we've talked about restructuring of our thoughts to an extent. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. But now we got to get into faith and trust. All right, faith and trust in who? Faith and trust in the Most High. All right, which of course, in order for us to be able to do that to a more excellent way, we need to be able to restructure our thoughts. Okay, and in a way, this is kind of a walk and talk almost. So if I start getting out of breath, you know why. So Hebrews 11 and 2. Let's go ahead and grab it. And it reads, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good rapport." So I'll read down to 3 at least. It says, "Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahweh, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear." Okay? And then if you want even more edification, all right, your homework can be reading down, all right, from 4 on down. All right. And it gives you examples of men of the Lord, are in the things that they did that was good unto the Lord, and examples of their faith. Okay, so that can be like a faith booster, is going and looking to the men of old and seeing what they did, right? Or actually, you know what? I'll read a couple of them. Right here through 4, it says, I'll at least read down through 6. It says, "By faith Abel offered unto Yahweh a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, Yahweh testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith Enoch was translated, that he should not see death, and was not found, because Yahweh had translated him. For before his translation he had this testimony, that he pleased Yahweh. But without faith," and we had to read down, "Call Yahweh Hashem Yahushua," put the Spirit on me to do that, because we had to read that, because right here, verse 6, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahweh must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." All right, and getting into that, again, that goes back to the restructuring and thoughts and of our minds. And like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that I don't have an issue with that. I've been having an issue with like that, like a motherfucker lately, man. And it's through the refinement process, when you're going through hell. All right, and I mentioned things, different sorts of things, and bear with me for just a moment. But when you go through, I got you. But when you go through when you go through different things, it's it's a trial for a reason. It's a chastisement for a reason. It's not necessarily easy. It's not something that's going to just be a cakewalk, as some would say. It's a trial. It's a testing of your faith. It's a testing of your patience, man. So and sometimes that worldly, that flesh like really uncircumcised like thinking comes through, and it really pisses you off. It pisses me off, and especially it pisses you off when you're conscious and you know it. I know I shouldn't be thinking this way. I know I shouldn't be acting this way or behaving this way. I know I should be trusting in the Lord. So why, when something happens, do I think, oh, is the Lord going to heal me? Or I've been going through this, like I mentioned, the situation with, certain of my health. I've been, not in the best health, got different things in my ear, and then the teeth, all that. I thought the teeth would, and that goes into, all goes back to trusting the Lord, because sometimes you do some things, it doesn't end up being the case. Like I thought a lot of my health issues for a long time were caused by my teeth. Now, my teeth were already bad. They needed to be removed anyway. They were rotten as hell. But, in my understanding, it would be that if I removed them, that would be, that would be it, right? That was it. Well, no, not really, because I don't necessarily feel any better. I still get the random dizziness and illness. All right. And, I had an ear thing. I still have that ear thing. It just feels like it's plugged. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot to go through, because, man, it's enough to make you go mad, especially when it causes headaches and nose pressure and migraines and headache and all these terrible different things. All right. And, it feels like someone's sticking their finger in your ear all day. It seems like, oh, that's not too bad. But if you have that for, I've had it for about like almost a year and some change now, that really starts to add up. And it's hard when you're going through something like that. Now, I'm just saying, this is me. I'm giving you my testimonies, because everybody's going through something different. You might not have an ear thing, you might have a knee thing, or you might not have a knee thing, you might have a back thing, or something else, right? Some issue that you're going with. And when you're going through that, yes, it can be hard to, think spiritually instead of, again, because it's the red alert, right? Your body, your flesh, all right? Your flesh is freaks out because, hey, well, something's wrong. Hey, flesh is going off, something's wrong. And, it's hard not to lean into your understanding in that way, all right? And you think, oh, well, I'm going to go and get these teeth removed, all right? And then that'll solve everything. It's not always the case. Matter of fact, after that, I got worse. I got worse, and now I got a bunch of nasal problems that go along with it. So it's a hell. And through that, I've been learning to try to restructure my mind, and it's mentally it is mentally draining, and it's not going to be easy. And I like to bring this up because not everybody, not everyone's going to be comfortable talking about things that they go through. And I hope that I don't do it to be vain or because I'm important, because really I'm nobody at the end of the day. But I hope that this lesson finds somebody that's going through that just needed to hear that, oh, there's other people that are going through hell, and it can be low, man. Sometimes you go through and I'll say it because I needed to hear it. So there's a brother out there that probably needs to hear it, or a sister out there that needs to hear it. We hear from time to time, like, oh, sometimes you'll hear sometimes you'll hear things from brothers, but you won't always necessarily hear. They're not going to tell you everything for every situation, right? They'll say, oh, sometimes the Lord will touch your health, but then you might be fine money wise. Or sometimes you'll be, you won't have money, but your health will be good, or different things like that. Well, with certain situations, like right now, man, my health isn't the greatest, and my money, it's bad from all the teeth issues, man. Struggling like a motherfucker. So, a lot of people don't like to talk about their personal stuff, and it's really because we don't really matter. But I like to talk about it every once in a while because, hey, man, you don't think that you're the only one going through something. We're all going through something. We just don't necessarily talk about it all the time or at all necessarily, right? But so when you're going through things like this and like that, you need to restructure your brain. And like I said, I'm going through that process now. Because like I said, I'll call myself out. I still have that tendency, where you pray, and then you get better, something like that, and then you get worse, and you're like, well, is the Lord dealing with me? Is He gonna help me? Right? Is the Lord dealing with me? Is He gonna help me? And like I said, I'm still struggling with that currently. And it's just one of those things you have to have, like the faith, the grain of mustard seed. If you can have that little bit of faith out there, and you just got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And like I said, these lessons, I make them for myself just as much as I make them for you brothers and sisters out there. And it's just one of those things, man, where it's um, we just got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, as the apostles of Great Millstone always say. Again, not I won't say I'm not affiliated with, I'm not a part of them, all right, but that's what I that's who I learned from. It's apostles and elders of Great Millstone, right? Technically affiliated, but I don't want to call myself an affiliate unless I've been granted that title by them. So, but yeah, it's like if that phone decided to turn off, it was actually a pretty good moment to turn off because I pretty much finished my thought. But yeah, man. So, um, you hear the apostles and elders of Great Millstone always saying that we got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. All right, and what does that mean? It means you're never going to be, jumping for joy, yippee, right? But because there, the scripture that comes to mind is count it all joy when you fall into temptations. And you just know, hey, man, it's a good thing because, most of the time, all right, it means the Lord's dealing with you, depending on the situation. Most of the time, it means the Lord's dealing with you. And it's sometimes you think, oh, is the Lord dealing with me? And I won't say that's necessarily a bad thought to have, because you should be examining yourself, but you don't want to get yourself to the point where, like I do sometimes, and you really start, damn near condemning yourself, all right, and thinking, it's a bad thought process to have, all right. I know, because I tend to have it, all right. But like I said, you brothers and sisters out there that know they're going through those things, you're not the only ones that are going through those things, all right. It's just, like I said, I make these lessons for me just as much as I make them for you. And it's one of those things where we need to restructure our brains, man, because really, like I said, it's good, at least, through Yahweh Shemi Shai, call all Yahweh Shemi Shai, that I have the ability to call myself out and see those flaws, because some people don't have those flaws. So us in this truth, we at least have that benefit of being able to see our flaws and know that these things are wrong. We should not be doing these things. But then it goes back to All right, sitting down, examining yourself, going back to the drawing block, and figuring out how to get over these things. And I'm in that process right now. All right, where I'm trying to figure out, how I can better grow, how I can better restructure my mind and my thoughts. All right, and in turn, all right, better my faith and better my trust. And like I said, that's something that you brothers and sisters should go ahead and do as well. All right, to the best of your ability. Like I said, I'm still learning it, and I figure I'd say that to you brothers and sisters as well, because hey man, it's a good thing to do. Examine, try to restructure, because if you're having issues, all right, and like I said, I don't want to be I don't want to have a narcissist lesson where it's just me, 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 me. But like I said, I can only speak from my experience, because I am me and me am I, right? So it's one of those things where you gotta sit back, go to the drawing board, and say, okay, what am I doing? I see that I'm having this issue. I'm seeing that I'm having this fault. What can I do to better myself and stop? What is the root cause? All right. Because when you go and say, if you have any issue, that's what you try to do. All right. I was talking to my wife earlier about it, about, how it's like kind of like a car. When you have a car, all right, and something's, there's check engine lights, all these different things are flashing. All right. Something's wrong. You see that something's wrong. All right. Sometimes it's not always apparent of what that thing necessarily is. Something's wrong, and you got to, open up the hood, dig around, get diagnostics and stuff like that. And sometimes it can take you a while to figure out what it is that's going on. All right, and it can be really frustrating in that time to, what's going on with that? Why the hell am I like this? Why can't I get right? Why can't I do this, man? And it becomes very, very frustrating. And but it's good that you had the conscious form of thought to even go and uh, you know search those things out and say, okay, I got a problem, I need to try to fix it. Okay, so with that, um, let's get Luke 1:37. So we'll get Luke 1:37. We'll go with just 37. And so the thing you need to realize is that, we might, you always, as a person, I won't say it's everybody, because it's probably just a character flaw, but I feel like a lot of people have it. A lot of people I know have it. Will think that we're like outside of help or something like that, or oh, if it's this, how could that ever happen? 'Cause again, that goes into leaning into your own understanding, and that harmful thought pattern. All right, that harmful thought pattern, and that's what is negating that restructuring of the mind, because you need to realize Luke 1:37, for Yahweh nothing shall be impossible. Okay, again, for with Yahweh, nothing shall be impossible. So with the Lord, nothing is impossible. That's what you need to understand. Whether it's a health issue and you think, oh, I might not be healed, I gotta say, call all Yahweh Shemi Shai, because I do understand that. I do understand that the Lord's capable of anything. I know that He heals people. But the thing is, when you get in that situation, you get to that point. Why would He heal me? Well, you need to stop thinking like that. I need to stop thinking like that. I'm the same way. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say something that I'm not doing. All right, but without calling myself out, at least, right? And find a way to restructure those thoughts. All right, find a way to restructure those thoughts, and it might seem hard, but sometimes you just got to pray. All right, pray without ceasing. Another scripture: pray without ceasing. We got to pray, 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 pray. All right, and with that, all right, we can get better. All right, we can get better. But that's the thing, man. With the Most High, for with Yahweh, nothing shall be impossible. So that's the one thing. That's the first step. You need to understand that nothing's impossible when you have Yahweh Shemi Shai. All right, then you got to stop the self-condemnation. Like I heard a brother said it a long time ago. I can't remember which brother it was, but he said, when you do that, you're really putting curses on yourself. And I know I do it a lot. All right, like I said. So speaking from experience, you gotta when you pray, man, you can't be in and out of thought. All right, and I know, because I like I said, I know, because I've done it, and because of that, I've seen the effects of what happens. Nothing. All right, nothing. If you pray that the Lord's not going to let you step in a puddle, and you said, oh, He's probably going to make me step in the puddle. You know what's going to happen? You're going to step in that puddle. All right. So the problem, the problem, you understand the problem. Now you understand that your mind has a tendency to think, oh, well, I'm gonna step in that puddle. And now back to the drawing board. Got to figure out, what is it that's making you think that? Is it doubt? All right. Is it lack of faith? All right. Is it, you got to go to the drawing board. All right. I know that I've been doing that with myself. You say, okay, well, I do know that the Lord is capable, all right, of all things, and I've seen him heal, and I know, this world's going to end, and I know he's going to do that. So it's not a lack of faith in that regard. All right. Now, is it regarding me? Do I not trust? Or do I feel like I'm in some way not worthy of the Lord's mercy? I mean, none of us really are no, really, we all deserve death. All right, if you really want to get down to it. But are you going back to self-condemning? And a lot of the time, that's what I end up doing. All right, is self condemnation. They're saying, oh, I'm not, I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. I'm not the best servant. I do wickedness all the time. Why would the Lord even really want to heal me? This and that, this and that, and this and that. And then that goes into leaning into your own understanding. All right, which I know, because I have a tendency to do it, unfortunately. And that's a drawing board. Now you found the problem. Now the next part of the drawing board is saying, okay, how do I get rid of this? Restructuring of the mind. Okay, I understand that I have this issue. Okay, now why do I have this issue? What is this issue? Okay, it's because I feel like I'm not worthy in any way. Okay, why do you feel that way? Now, is it stuff from the past? Is it depression, or is it something that you have going on, or what is it? And then you have to move from there, right? Something that you got to go and move from there. And this isn't stuff that happens overnight, man. This is not stuff that it's just a miracle, and overnight you're just done. Oh, well, this is just, again, a restructuring. When a company restructures, that's usually not something that's done overnight. A restructuring is done over quite a long process. They have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what are we going to do with this company? All right, is this what problems did we have with the prior way we were running things? How do we want to run it now? All right, what is our goals? What are we looking to get out of this restructuring? All right, is it are we keeping the same? Are we keeping anything the same? Are we completely restructuring? Are we taking half from here and putting in a new half? Or are we doing 20% and then 70%? Or 20% and then, no, 30% and then 70%, or 50-50? Are we cutting it in half? What are we doing? Right? So that's something that you need to be able to realize and understand and be like, okay. And that takes time, man. You got to go to the drawing board. You got to think of what it is what is your goal? All right, what is your goal? And the goal here would be the better form of thought, a better way of thinking, and ultimately serving Yahweh Shemi Shai in a more better and proper way. So, and again, it takes time. All right, it takes time. Hold up, I'm gonna help out this bug. Let me see. Trying to help this bug on his back. There we go. It's a beetle. They can't really get on their back on their own walking this trail, so I don't want to see a little guy struggle. But yeah, man. So like you. But yeah, man. So that's the thing you need to understand, and understand that once you got your goal, you work towards it, and that with Yahweh, nothing shall be impossible. Luke 1:37. So you found that goal, and you said, okay, can he help me? Of course he can. All right. But if you don't believe, he won't. All right. So like it says, when you pray, believe that you shall receive them. Believe that you have them and you shall receive them. All right. Man, I think I got it in here. Yeah. James 1:5-8. Perfect segue, because that's where we're going. 1:5-8. There's a bug flying around. So James 1:5. So 5. All right, starting 5, and we're going through 8. Actually, you know what? Let's go. We're actually, yeah, I actually mentioned this earlier. Call you, how about Shmi Shai? I actually mentioned this. So we're actually going to go up from verse 1 because it's well deserved. So James, it says, so James 1:1. Bear with me, the watch is going off. James 1:1 says, James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. So I wanted to get that. Let's see. What else do we have? It says, but let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. So if you're struggling, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. It says, but let him ask in faith. So let's go back up. It says, if you're lacking wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith. We're going to get what faith is in a moment. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So you don't want to be double-minded or thinking in some type of weird, crazy-ass way, because if you're being like that, then you can't think the Lord's going to help me. No, he's not. Maybe he will. Yes, he will. Maybe he won't. No, he won't. That's not a good way of thinking. And the demons will put you in that mindset as well, by the way. That's those what-if demons, okay? And like I mentioned, Slakia. Mike decided to die. It probably won't sound as good now. You'll hear a lot of the background noise and background chatter and all that, but Lord willing, it should be working all good and grand. But yeah, man, the demons will put you in that mindset of doubt, and have you thinking like that, all sorts of messed up, all right, how you shouldn't be thinking. So that's, and again, once you do that, as that brother mentioned, again, I slack you, to that brother. I wish I could remember his name, remember the channel. I got it somewhere, but I have it saved somewhere, I believe, in one of my favorites list or something like that on my channel. But they'll put you in that messed up way of thinking, which isn't how you should be thinking at all. And then really, when you start doing that, now you're just putting curses on yourself. So that's not something you want to do. Now, in James, all right, that we just read, it talks about is unstable in all his ways. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. What is unstable? I said to myself curiously as I was making this lesson. All right, and I looked it up. And it says unstable, likely to change or fail, not firmly established. All right, if you try to get up and put something on a top shelf and you're on an unstable ladder, you're going to fall and bust your ass. You might even die. People die on ladders all the time. If you have an unstable foundation, all right, that house is going to come crashing and crumbling down, and it's only a matter of time. It might be built for a little bit, it might stand tall for a little bit, but if that foundation doesn't go unchanged and it's still unstable, it's going to crumble away. Boom, bam, done. Doesn't matter how nice the house looks, it will crumble away. So unstable, likely to change or fail, not firmly established. And as a matter of fact, when I looked up unstable, there are several definitions. Each of them almost more edifying than the last one, all right? And there's one that I believe Cambridge had, so if you want to do a little bit of homework and go look up unstable definition, and then just go and look. Just look at the Google one, go to the Merriam-Webster's one, the Oxford one, the Cambridge one, all the literature, all these different ones. Go to etymology. As a matter of fact, let's do that now. Let me see. Hey Siri. ETYM. There we go. So, unstable. Here it is. And I know you're going to hear more noise in the background, Salakia. Unstable, adjective, from Etymology Online or Etymololine. It says apt to move, easily moved. The sense of fickle, facilitating, irresolute, easily swayed. That's not a good way to be. Okay, easily swayed, unstable. Okay, it says is attested from the late 13th century, the meaning liable to fall. It's from the 1300. It says that of structurally insecure. Structurally insecure. All right, liable to fall. Or another one was easily swayed. You don't want to be easily swayed in the mind. Lord's going to help me. No, he won't. Oh, guess he won't then. That's unstable by the very definition. Okay? And what we're working on is to not be so unstable. We're doing the renovations. We're making the changes, all right? We're restructuring and renovating, all right? And by that, all right, if there's a piece of wall that's crumbling away, it's got to go, all right? And a new wall needs to be built, all right? A new wall needs built. That wall's got to go, and a new one's got to be built. You got a hinge on the door and it's rusty, that's got to be taken away. Can't have that. All right, you got to put a brand new one on. All right, that's old and it's just going to cause harm and it's just going to crumble away. You got to get rid of it and replace all the old parts with all the new parts. You can't leave one bad. All right, you ever heard the term one bad apple spoils the bunch? All right, it's like if you have one rotting fruit, you have to separate that. All right, also all the fruit will rot with it. All right, a lot of people that cook know that. Hell, I don't even cook and I know that. If you have a rotting vegetable or a rotting fruit and you see it start exhibiting signs of rot, you need to separate and segregate that fruit or vegetable, all right, because it will spread. Just like with bread. Really with bread, it's a little too late. Once you start seeing the signs of the mold, it's got mold in it anyway, and you just can't see it. But once it's got mold, really, if you wanted to separate it, you could, but at that point, really all the bread's going to start getting moldy anyway. But, we're like this. We're like fruit, man. We're like fruit. So if one part starts having an issue, we got to get rid of it, all right? Or else we might have another issue pop up, and we don't want that. So, again, restructuring and reorganizing and renovating, all right? Renovating the home and the house and the mind and ultimately the temple, okay? So, last but not least, Proverbs 3 and 5 through 6. Let's get it. So, this is Proverbs 3 and 4 down through 7. And then we're going to close out. So, Proverbs 3 and 4, it says, so shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of Yahweh and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. So don't lean into your way of thought, because again, like I said, I'm not being a hypocrite. I gotta warn you that I do it too. And I do it a lot. You'll say, oh well, I'm really ill. I really don't feel well. This is what if it's something that is real bad, or what if it doesn't get better, right? What if it doesn't get better? And you say, oh, well, if it's something like, arthritis or whatever, I don't think it's arthritis or whatever it could be, that stuff that just doesn't go away. Well, with the Most High, all things are possible. Remember that. Lean not unto your own understanding, because, with men it is impossible. Another scripture, with men it is impossible, with the Most High, all things are possible. You're right. You go to a doctor, they won't be able to cure your arthritis, all right? They won't be able to cure, sometimes they can cure your cancer, right? They won't be able to cure certain things, right? Or it's really hard, or, you're not liable to live with this. It'll be a lifelong thing, or goddamn, almost got ran out on by a cockroach. But you're liable to this is a lifelong, or it's not looking so good, it's looking grim. Hey, well, with the Lord, he can make that no more worse than just a cold, and it could just go away. All right, it could just go away like that. All right, but so lean not into your own understanding. All right, because you got to remember that the Lord's capable of anything and on all things, and he can and will heal you if you believe. You just got to believe, and that's what I'm working on now. And it says in verse 6, and all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord, and depart from evil. So that's the scriptures. You just gotta, hey man, we know what we gotta do. We just gotta do it. We just got to do it. Okay. So, don't lean in our understandings. I got to get better with that. I know there's brothers and sisters out there that need to get better with that as well. But that's where we're going to close out. All right. Lord willing, it's been edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I want to say shalom to brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here until the next one, Lord willing. Shalom.